Frog storm over Serbia. On a sweltering afternoon in 2005, the skies above Odzisai, Serbia turned ominously green. Moments later, thousands of frogs began plummeting to earth, smashing against rooftops and car windshields. Locals described the sound like hail made of meat. Scientists later confirmed a rare meteorological phenomenon. A waterspout had sucked up an entire pond's population, lifting the amphibians nearly a mile high before releasing them like living shrapnel. The strangest detail? Most frogs survived the fall, hopping away from impact craters in a scene straight from a biblical plague. The Great Kentucky Meat Shower. March 3, 1876. Bath County, Kentucky. Mrs. Crouch stepped outside to find her farm blanketed in chunks of raw meat. Some pieces were as large as a man's hand, others still dripping fresh blood. Locals reported the meat falling like snowflakes. For nearly 10 minutes. Scientists initially dismissed it as vulture vomit, until lab tests confirmed the tissue was mammalian, likely horse or human lung. The true culprit? A freak atmospheric updraft likely tore apart a migrating flock of buzzards, their stomach contents lifted miles high before raining down in a grotesque parody of manna from heaven. The cow-killing space rock. November 30th, 1954. Sylacauga, Alabama. And Hodges became the first and only human hit by a meteorite, but the universe had already claimed a bovine victim earlier that year. Farmers near Mbale, Uganda watched a fireball streak across the sky before a 3-pound meteorite punched clean through a banana tree, decapitating a grazing cow mid-chew. The stone buried itself 6 feet into the soil, still warm when dug up. Forensic analysis revealed the projectile had traveled 4.5 billion years through space, only to end its journey as the galaxy's most improbable slaughterhouse tool. Skylab's fiery finale. July 11, 1979. NASA's 77-ton Skylab space station came screaming back to Earth in an uncontrolled descent, breaking apart in a fireball visible across 3 continents. For weeks, the world held its breath as scientists predicted where the debris might land. Australians took bets in local pubs, with one town offering $10,000 for the first recovered piece. The station finally disintegrated over the Indian Ocean, scattering chunks of molten metal across Western Australia's outback. A 24-pound fragment smashed through the roof of a farmer's shed in Esperance. Another piece nearly hit a truck driver speeding across the Nullarbor Plain. In a twist of cosmic irony, the Shire of Esperance fined NASA $400 for littering, a debt the space agency didn't pay until 2009, when a California radio host raised the money 30 years later. Locals still joke that Skylab's real mission was testing how long it takes Americans to pay a parking ticket from space. The day it rained spiders. April 6, 2007. Residents of Salta Province, Argentina woke to a nightmare. Millions of parachuting spiders descended from low-hanging clouds, coating the landscape in silk so thick it resembled snowfall. Biologists identified the invaders as Anolosimus eximius, a social spider species capable of ballooning on silk threads. Normally this behavior occurs at ground level, but a freak thermal updraft had launched entire colonies into the jet stream. For 3 days, locals walked through curtains of sticky webs, while dead spiders clogged water drains like macabre confetti. Tunguska's 800-mile punch. June 30th, 1908. A fireball 100 times brighter than the sun exploded over Siberia with the force of 185 Hiroshima bombs. The Tunguska event flattened 80 million trees across 830 square miles, yet left no crater. For decades, scientists debated whether it was a comet, meteorite, or even a mini black hole. Eyewitnesses described sky splitting in 2 before being knocked unconscious by shockwaves. The most chilling detail? If the blast had occurred 4 hours later, it would have vaporized St. Petersburg, making it history's deadliest cosmic coincidence. The Great Fish Deluge of 1859. Residents of Bath, England still debate whether the 1859 fish storm was divine intervention or atmospheric insanity. After a thunderclap so loud it shattered windows, hundreds of live perch and trout began slapping onto streets. Some fish were found neatly stacked in carts, as if delivered by an invisible fisherman. Modern meteorologists blame tornadic waterspouts, but Victorian newspapers insisted it was proof of aerial oceans hidden behind the clouds. The Russian rocket debris stampede. May 15, 2020. A 20-ton spent rocket stage from Russia's Proton-M booster careened uncontrollably through the atmosphere, scattering flaming debris over the remote village of Kopi in Kazakhstan. But the real chaos began when locals mistook the orange-tinted smoke plume for an alien invasion. Hundreds panicked, crashing cars and trampling fences in their rush to escape. Authorities later found a 440-pound fuel tank embedded in a sheep pasture, still reeking of toxic hydrazine. The incident marked the 11th time Russian space junk had terrorized Kazakhstan since 1999. The day golf balls bombarded Florida. January 1969. Punta Gorda, Florida. A thunderous crack echoed across the Skyway golf course as hundreds of titlice began hammering the greens at terminal velocity. Players dove for cover as dimpled projectiles shattered golf cart windshields. The source? A nearby Air Force base had accidentally jettisoned a cargo pallet containing 50,000 golf balls during a training flight. Frozen at high altitude, the balls became deadly hail. One witness described the sound as God playing a million hole-in-ones at once. The cosmic jellyfish invasion. August 2014. Scientists at the University of Sheffield made a chilling discovery while studying rainwater. Dozens of translucent, gelatinous blobs, each the size of a grape, were multiplying in their collection trays. DNA tests came back inconclusive, with the substance showing traits of both marine jellyfish and unknown microorganisms. The prevailing theory? Atmospheric rivers may have scooped up undiscovered sea creatures, carrying them 20,000 feet aloft before depositing them over England. The blobs dissolved within hours, leaving behind only a salty residue and unanswered questions. The Michigan Car Key Meteorite. October 2018. Robert Ward stood in his driveway in Hamburg Township when a grapefruit-sized meteorite screamed through his SUV's windshield. The space rock, still smoking, landed in his passenger seat, perfectly aligned with the ignition, making it history's only known cosmic car key. Analysis showed the 4.5 billion-year-old chondrite contained pre-solar grains older than the sun itself. Ward later joked he'd found the universe's way of telling me to take a road trip. The day snails bombarded France. On March 6, 2008, residents of the small French village of Fontenay-le-Comte experienced one of nature's most bizarre aerial assaults. Without warning, thousands of live garden snails began raining from the sky, pelting rooftops and sidewalks with tiny, spiraling shells. Farmers reported hearing a sound like gravel hitting tin roofs before discovering their fields carpeted with mollusks. The explanation? Scientists determined a freak tornado had scooped up an entire population of snails from nearby wetlands, carrying them nearly 2 miles aloft before depositing them over the village. The most astonishing detail, nearly 80% of the snails survived their high-altitude journey, immediately beginning to crawl away as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Which skyfall seems most impossible? Could these events happen again? Sound off below and watch the skies.